You don't have to move to be in a better neighborhood.
You do not have to move to live in a better neighborhood. That's something we adopted back at the beginning, because that's typically what happens in inner city communities, in the ghetto. You know, people think they have to leave in order for things to get better for them. But, you know, everybody doesn't have that option, first of all. And if we just start working together and start collaborating, cooperating, connecting with each other, we can change our neighborhoods.
Hello everyone and welcome to On the Grid. My name is EJ and today I have a wonderful guest with me, Craig Powell, Powernet of Tampa. How are you doing today?
Oh boy, I'm great. Couldn't be better.
The energy. I needed that energy for my interview today. Oh, goodness. No, I'm really excited to speak with you. I believe you just have this, I said when I first met you, this warm energy, this very teacher energy. What is your background? What is your job? What do you do? One, in our community as well, but overall, where does this energy come from?
Oh boy, I wish I could explain it in more detail, but I've always been this way. From being the president of my 6th grade student council and being in student government in high school and college, I'm just one of those guys who's always out there trying to improve my community, represent, you know, the underrepresented, and it's just my personality type. I'm telling you, it's so much fun.
No, I mean, as someone who has a very outgoing personality as well, I think we're naturally drawn as community leaders because sometimes people don't talk enough around us.
That's right.
And we have to talk for them.
Yeah, that's right.
Where does that community organizing come from? I believe, you know, I was going to say, when did it start for you in Tampa? But when did it start for you growing up? You said things like 6th grade. When did that passion start?
Oh yeah, you know, it's hard to pinpoint a specific point in time, but I don't know. I think there's some people around me recognized some qualities or some skills or some insights that I had even as a young person and encouraged me to step up. So that's why I became the president of the student council in the 6th grade, and from there I got elected into positions in my high school class, regional positions, and you know, that early experience made it very comfortable for me to continue doing this as an adult in college, university. I was a university student government, and from there, it's just part of my identity. I don't know how to do anything different.
That's usually how it is. Sometimes we're like, this is what I do. And
That's
what
right.
you do seems to be very well. When did you notice that was the passion that you had? When did that hobby become your job? When did you start making that money? Or not even just money. When did community organization become that gig for you?
Well, you know what? It was when I freed myself. Matter of fact, I'm not one of those guys who chases the dollar. I've got, you know, some other people, mainly my brother and some others, who are about making the money, and they do whatever they can to make the money. It was more important for me to be free, to do what I was motivated to do, to act in alignment with my passions. And so whether I make money or not is a secondary consideration. So at the point that I became free enough to act on what I believe is a God-given seed, a God-given mission, everything else just kind of fell in place. You know, and it's probably around high school going into college. You know, I had some professors who saw some things in me, encouraged me, and shook me up. I didn't have a father. My father unfortunately passed away when I was still a toddler. So there's some men who stepped in, including family, uncles, who shook me up and kept me on the right track, because I did get into the street life for a little while as a juvenile. But boy, it's been a ride, a roller coaster ride, up and down. But I feel good. I live a high quality of life, being able to control my schedule, do what I think is most important in life. So
The energy you exude, that freedom that you have, you could tell that just your passion now.
Right.
That freedom, this is probably a bigger concept, maybe harder to pinpoint. What is that freedom? When did you find it? And I mean more of other people. When do you think that that's easy for them? When do you think they should start searching for that freedom?
What we're talking about now, I believe, is some of the greatest struggles that individuals have. Just because I've been doing this so long and I've translated this into a professional endeavor, and I've studied this thing, and this is what I do, and we'll get into some of that a little later. I help people turn their lives around. That's what I do. And first, I had to turn my life around. I mean, again, I was in the street. I was in the gang. I was doing some dirt, mainly following everybody else's lead, right? I didn't own my own quality of life. My quality of life was really a reflection of everybody else and the neighborhood I was around. But at some point, I became an independent thinker. I got to the point of having enough self-confidence and started to create a vision for myself that wasn't consistent with what everybody else was doing. So that was freeing. I'm telling you, when you can start to determine your own track, your own trajectory, create your own plan, that, I'm telling you, it was a zoom up in quality of life. So I don't care. I'm not concerned about what other people think about me. I'm concerned about doing the right thing for the right reasons in the right way. And whatever the sacrifice I need to do to make that happen, I'm more like people sometimes confuse me with a minister. You know, are you a minister? Apparently I come across that way sometimes, but I'm not. Well, in a sense that I'm ministering to the community, but not within a specific doctrine or within a specific organization, but most akin to a minister who just have a lot of energy and passion about helping people. That's where I get my greatest payoff, is when I'm able to help someone. I'm a servant leader.
I think you have a self-awareness that a lot of people don't have. And I think that comes with, I think there's a saying, we grow up in the shoes that we're told that we can fit.
Oh, boy.
And sometimes you realize, I could fit bigger shoes.
That's right.
And I feel like that's what you found. And that self-awareness, you've traveled around a lot too.
That's right.
Was there a place that you really felt like you started to hone this? I know there was a bit of Ohio, there was a bit of New York. That's right. Back to Ohio. Was there a place you really felt this started to come together?
You know what? It was when I moved to the East Coast. Because when I left Ohio, I originally went into the Washington, D.C. area, the major urban area. And that's when I first started a business, a franchise. And franchise have a structure there that you can follow. But within 2 or 3 years, I started my own business and moved to New York City. So a traditional entrepreneur. I was running a construction company. But again, the freedom, and I was making money, but the freedom of running my own business, setting my own standards, marching to my own beat, that was just so liberating. And but in fact, EJ, that's where I realized that money wasn't a major motivator for me. And I was making pretty decent income in New York City. You know, was a landlord. I was running a construction company and also acting. I was a professional actor for a little while in New York. So I had multiple streams of income, but it wasn't as satisfying when one day on one of my contracts, I started hiring guys coming out of the prison system in New York City. And at that point, they offered me some incentives, some training dollars and bonding and some other incentives to help some of the men who were coming out of the prison system there. And that's when I first started to see a mission broader and higher than just working for myself to help myself. And that is really when it started to take off. And I eventually disposed of that business and started a nonprofit and started really engaging with those guys. That's what brings me here today is that work I've been doing over the last 20 years as a nonprofit director and founder.
You said this kind of started in New York and you brought it down to Tampa, which we'll talk about, your work down here. But this passion for working with people who are out of the prison system, where did that start from? I know you don't have any trouble as an adult, but where does that? Because not many people are that selfless. Because it's probably hard. So where did that passion start from?
Well, it started when I was coming up, raised by a single mother with 5 kids trying to keep up with us. So I was in the streets, not because I chose to be in the streets, is because that was my environment. I grew up in a neighborhood, in an environment where there were few options. All my friends were in the streets. So it wasn't a decision to be in a gang. It would have been a tough decision not to be in the gang. So that's my roots. So I know that lifestyle. I've done some things I'm not proud of, and I won't go into those details. But when I got to New York and started my business and now started to be reintroduced to some of the guys who were about the same age as I was when I was in the streets, I realized I could start to give back now, because I took away from my community and my neighborhood. So my experience in New York refocused my mind with the skill set that I had, which wasn't being satisfied just by making deposits in my bank account. I wanted to make deposits in people's lives to help them understand and realize the benefits that I had realized coming out of the streets. And I was fortunate not to have a criminal arrest as an adult, because after you're 18 and you get caught up in the criminal justice system, it's hard. Your options become very narrow, both extrinsically because of the policies and laws, but also intrinsically because you realize that you don't have all the options, you don't feel as confident about yourself, and you're, I don't know, that's a struggle that a lot of people have who've confronted, the criminal justice system. It holds you down.
Yeah.
The psychological impact, psycho-emotional impact.
We see the numbers, especially with young black men, that end up going back into the system because it's almost easier for them. They believe that it's
That's
almost
right.
easier. Oh, well, I get it. The
That's
three
right.
three hots and a cot kind of
That's
thing.
right.
And I don't think I love that your passion is letting them know there's other ways. Please don't fall back into that as well. I
That's
think
right.
a lot of people don't know that option is there for them.
That's right. And it's not just, EJ, it's not just about knowing. That is where we fall short. We think if we put a pamphlet in front of somebody or stand in front of them and do a motivational speech that their life's going to change. That is not adequate. You have to engage with the individual. You have to build relationships. If you don't have a relationship with the individual, they don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah.
That's the challenge of our work. That is to build relationships with individuals who want to change their lives. It's not just about going through a curriculum and giving them some handouts and having them complete a course. It's a relationship building. That's the challenge, and that's why we're no further ahead than we are. Unfortunately, the criminal justice system, the officers and guards and officials, well-intentioned, have policies against establishing these kind of relationships with the people they have custody of. That's why it's just hard for them to turn the corner on this. It takes the community, guys like me, and there's a whole bunch of me's out there who want to make a difference.
Yeah, not to get too personal, but I had a father who went through a lot of, drug and law problems, and
Right.
I would always see that. They would hand a pamphlet. Maybe a religious leader would come, "Hi guys," and then leave. And that connection needs to be there again. 'Cause
That's
you
right.
need to feel
That's right.
comfortable and at home.
That's right.
And it seems like you've built that. Now talk to me about coming to Tampa and building Powernet of Tampa. What is that, and how did that start for you? When did that start for you as well?
Well, it started in Ohio. It started originally as Powernet of Dayton. And that's where I started this work, and with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. Back in 2004, I started, I got incorporated in 2004. I actually started the community organizing and building relationships in 2002 and built a board and got, the credentials by 2004 and started going into the prison system there in the Dayton, Ohio area. So I've spent years working with hundreds and hundreds of men and women incarcerated who said they wanted a different lifestyle. And so that's when it started back in 2004, 2005. Now, I came here in 2016 because of family. My daughter happened to be from a previous marriage. She was here in the Tampa Bay area. She went to the University of South Florida.
Okay.
And just to give you some facts, my ex-wife, her mother passed away, and I decided I need to be closer to my daughter, who was a single parent. So I'm here with my daughter and granddaughter, and we're all together right now. So that was the impetus of my move to leave Ohio to come here, because you know what? I didn't really hear great things about Florida before I got here.
Yeah.
And but I am so glad I'm here, because the challenge is what I love. A challenge. And without getting too many details, what I couldn't do was just replicate everything I was doing in Ohio. So I essentially had to come here and start over again. That's why I started Powernet of Tampa here back in 2016. So I'm incorporated as a foreign corporation here with the Department of State. But I've got a new board of directors here, and my legal address is here in Tampa. Matter of fact, I'm co-located with the CDC of Tampa on Hillsborough Avenue.
Yep.
So Ernest Coney, thank you again for allowing me to come in and establish my legal address at 1907 East Hillsborough Avenue.
Oh, you are Tampa through and through with that. Now, there's two things I want to touch on there. One, as a native Floridian, why? Why do you guys come here? I never understand why anyone wants to come to Florida. And two, thank you for coming to Florida. We need that. And I want to ask, you kind of touched on it there. Dayton to Tampa, the prison system, the people you meet. Was there a difference? Did you have to rework your campaign? Is a prisoner a prisoner? Is a man previously incarcerated, a woman previously incarcerated, the same in Dayton as they are in Tampa? Or did you have to kind of change a lot of your mindset, your education while you came here?
Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to be transparent at the risk of someone not liking what I'm getting ready to say. But there is a difference. And it's mostly political. That is, individuals in prison in Ohio, in New York, in Illinois, in Maryland, and Florida, it's the same issues. There's no state that is exclusive, no urban area that has exclusivity or exemption from those inner city challenges that compel people to operate in the underground economy. And I'm just trying to be politically correct.
That is the best way I've ever heard that say, yes.
So that's not anything that any major urban area is
like excused from.
Yeah, they're not excused from that or have any magic potion. So the difference has to do with the culture that operates in that prison system and the broader politics that operate in that region or state. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this is a different political climate than I'm used to in Ohio. Although we had a conservative governor there, but more moderate. I would say that the administration here in Florida is a little more conservative than what I'm used to, which is reflected in the legislature and to a large extent in the local governmental affairs. So it's been a little tougher to establish the inroads and to bring people together, but I'm glad to say that we've recently kicked off a community-wide initiative that I feel very optimistic is going to really pay dividends here, and I hope I'm able to share more of that with you before we're finished here today. But I believe we're turning a corner here, at least in the Hillsborough County, Tampa area. We've got an opportunity to make some progress that I think will be an example in Florida.
Well, let's touch on that now, because one of my next thoughts was we had that law that we tried to pass with the restorative rights, giving felons back the rights to vote, things like that. Right. And it seemed like our government really wanted to drag their feet on it. And it seems like we're still dragging feet on it. So, you know, to kind of move away from wagging our finger at certain political figures, what are you working on now? What is your ground campaign to get this going? I want to give you the floor to now kind of speak about the events you have coming up and things like that.
Right. What I believe firmly, very passionately, is that the community has to step up. The community is the solution to this quagmire that we've experienced, not only here in Florida, all over the country, while there's still a high recidivism rate. The community has to solve this problem by stepping up and being engaged and taking a lead role. Too long we've allowed the criminal justice system to lead the way and to set the standards and to dictate the
conversation.
That's right, the conversation and all the policies. So what I'm excited about now is that we've started a local initiative called Raising the Bar, a restorative justice and prison reduction initiative here in the Tampa Bay area, starting here in Hillsborough County. And that is a community-based initiative where community leaders, grassroots folks, including people formerly incarcerated, are taking a lead role to establish the protocols, to establish a strategic plan for moving forward. That's exciting. And I'm an older guy, powering the people.
Yeah.
I believe in that. And that's what our Constitution insinuates. Yeah. And in fact says very literally, of the people, by the people, and for the people. But we haven't always taken advantage of that, particularly not in the area of criminal justice. So this is an opportunity for our community to come together to set the bar, raise the bar, and accomplish some things that elected officials who are elected by us can support, right? So we're not in a position now to wait and see what's going to happen. We're in a position now to make some things happen, and we're calling on our community leaders and other criminal justice executives to support this effort. And they're at the table.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, so we've had our first inaugural meeting October 30th here, and now this conference is one of the first deliverables, one of the first projects that we're bringing together the full spectrum of criminal justice officials, from the front end and the back end.
I love that you said deliverable, something tangible that we could attend, that we can touch.
That's right.
I feel like a lot of the time we'll talk about it. We'll have meetings about it.
That's right.
But what are we doing?
That's right.
There's two more things I want to touch on with you real quick. Is there a tip you can give, just an easy one, let's say I'm just getting out of incarceration.
Right.
What is a tip that you can say to someone to get their kind of feet on the ground, to get get running onto it?
Here's two things I'm going to say. Two tips. One is don't try to do it by yourself. No man, no person is an island. No one's perfect. Even if you have the best intentions and want to really turn things around, don't try to do it by yourself. Some people do, but I advise you not to do that. Connect with an organization. Whatever organization you feel is you're most comfortable with, that's convenient and user-friendly, connect with some other organization. That's one tip. The second tip is don't believe when someone tells you no. Don't lose your motivation. Don't stop what you believe you're trying to accomplish if someone tells you no or tries to discourage you, whether it's family, friends, or a service provider. That is the human will. When you believe in something, and I'm a living testament to that, because people thought I was going to end up being in the streets the rest of my life. And I know when I started believing in myself, all kind of things happened. And people told me no all along the way. So those are the first two tips. Connect with an organization or a person, a mentor or a coach. Secondly, don't be discouraged by circumstances, people, or situations that you may be in. Keep moving forward.
I think that's great. I think a lot of times, especially me, I'm a person who, I'm going to do this by myself. And I don't know why I've gotten that mindset, from cooking, the dinner by myself.
Right.
I don't need to do that. I can ask somebody for help. So I love that mindset of that community. You need a community.
Even presidents, as skillful and intelligent and resourceful as they are, they all have cabinets. They all have advisors. No president of the United States would make a single decision without getting advice from trusted associates. Yeah. So it's just good business. Even CEOs and professional athletes, all successful people have advisors and mentors and coaches around them.
Yeah.
And we all should as well.
That teamwork makes the dream work kind of mentality.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
And speaking of slogans with you, you don't have to move to be in a better neighborhood.
That's right.
Explain that to me.
You do not have to move to live in a better neighborhood. That's something we adopted back at the beginning, because that's typically what happens in inner city communities, in the ghetto. People think they have to leave in order for things to get better for them. But, everybody doesn't have that option, first of all. And if we just start working together and start collaborating, cooperating, connecting with each other, we can change our neighborhoods. We can improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods. I don't think it's the answer for everybody to move out.
No.
That's unfortunately what's happened to a lot of cities, and they're dwindling, and everybody's going to the suburbs, and the cities are suffering. The public school systems, the tax base, the real estate, and that's just not the way to go. So although Tampa is fortunate to be in an area of the country that's fairly popular, which is unusual because the city that I was born and raised in is struggling to stay viable. But the answer is for us to work together, not to move away.
Ooh, I love that as a final thought there. Stay together, do not move away. Craig, thank you so much for joining me. This was incredibly insightful. I've walked away with life lessons that I didn't even think I needed that I now took away from this. So
great.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure.
And
Glad
thank
to be
you
here.
all for joining me for On the Grid. My name is EJ. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and join us for the next one.